Welcome to Extra Throttle House. I'm Thomas.
And I'm James.
And this car confuses me a little bit.
Because it is slightly confusing.
Yes.
Because it's a change. A change is, I've been living with this.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting.
What is it?
So we've lost the two-door C-Class.
Yeah.
Coupe. We've lost the E-Class Coupe.
Yep.
They have amalgamated, consolidated, absorbed.
One of those words is the right one.
One of those words.
Yep.
And into one car. The CLE.
Okay.
And so think of it, so in BMW terms, this is like a 4.5. And in Audi terms, it's like a 5.5. Like an A5.5.
Okay. If they just used normal names for their cars, none of this would be a thing. Understanding the three, like their numbers don't line up across the things they used to have to do with the engines. Now they're confusing. They got rid of some stuff. They amalgamated, consolidated. Congregated things together, and now it's all very confusing.
So this gets the E powertrains.
So this is a 53 AMG.
The 53 AMG.
So it's got an inline six?
Correct, like the 450.
Mild hybrid.
Yeah, except this gets the mild hybrid and an E supercharger.
Right.
So it actually has 443 horsepower.
440. That's a pretty good number,
Powerful.
actually.
So,
yeah.
So here's my scientific, whatever it is. What do you start with on a scientific thing?
Well, you're talking about like the scientific method.
That's it.
Right, yeah.
My hypothesis is...
Your hypothesis is, yes.
This is actually, and I haven't said this about Mercedes in a while,
yeah,
a solid car for the money.
Oh.
And this starts at 80 Canadian, so we get a bit of a deal compared to the US. And this one's optioned up to 99, it's got everything. But
okay.
I genuinely think there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of tech.
Yep.
You know, it's obviously, it's big. It's slightly longer than the E53 that came before it.
Okay.
So it's slightly heavy.
How much does it weigh?
4,400 pounds.
4,400, yep.
But don't think of it like that.
I have to, because physics exists, so does gravity, and all the things that, you know.
That makes it lighter than the new C63. And it has 2 more cylinders.
Everything is lighter than the new C63.
But this is cheaper.
My F-150 is lighter than...
Cheaper.
Okay, sure.
Look at it. It looks like a C63 Coupe. It's got a hood scoop.
Yeah, that's a hood scoop.
It's got bulging wide...
Well, it's actually a hood vent. It releases pressure.
Hood vent. All right, fine. It's attention for... It is.
Yeah.
It's got a big, fat, wide bum.
What happened to the wheels?
I think these wheels are quite interesting. They're not the only ones you can get, but I think they're...
Don't really like them.
They're a pain in the arse to clean, I will say.
Here is my thoughts on this. I think this is a great looking car.
Yes.
I think it's fantastically proportioned. I love the front end. I love the swoop. I love the back. I love the hips.
Because it looks like the previous gen C63.
Yes,
Coupe.
it looks really good. I really enjoy looking at this. But I can't help but think, in a non-full 63 AMG, when you're not quite at the sportiest of the sporty, why not do a sedan? Or why not have a sedan if you're going to be a buyer? Right. Why compromise the usability of it if you're not going full athleticism?
I agree. However, an E53 sedan exists. An AMG GT53 exists, and they all way more money. I honestly don't understand what's happened with the price here. I don't think it's a deal. I just think it makes sense. In a matte, this would be...
Yeah, if you made this matte and then put a 63 badge in the back, you'd never know it wasn't other than the engine. Like, you'd never know. Actually, that's not true. It's got a better engine than the C63.
But it doesn't... It's rumored that a V8 63 of this is coming. And,
oh, interesting.
But that isn't the only way...
That would be cool.
Yeah, that isn't the only way this has left room for a 63, I think. We'll find out in a minute when you drive it.
Yeah.
But I think it looks the part. I think, you know, it's got the wider tyres at the back.
Yeah.
It's got the AMG grille. It's lost the, like the AMG GT we had, it's lost the Mercedes badge on the front. They've gone full to back, which again, on a non-63 feels a little bit cheeky.
This badge is... Something about it, it just makes me feel like it used to have color, but the color has faded away. Anyway, so this isn't a signed AMG hand-built one-man, one-engine thingy, right?
No.
No.
No, not the inline six. And that's good, because that would have been very...
I like this power plant, though. I liked it when it first came out, and I'm interested to try it in this car, because we tried it in a bigger car before.
And I think it's had some advances since then as well. It's been years.
Yeah.
Because the first time we tried this was the CLS 53, and we loved it.
Watch your fingies. Okay, let's drive it. I'm a little bit curious to see, because I just have this theory that I'm going to like this more than the C63, which is way more money than this.
Interesting.
Okay, what? Hold on. What, James?
The doors are made of lead.
Why are the doors so heavy?
100% the doors are made of lead. I don't know why. They needed to electronically actuate them in some way.
That is the heaviest door I have ever used on a modern vehicle.
There's got to be 500 pounds of
It
that
feels
weight.
about 500 pounds, honestly. Like if you were on a slope and you were getting out of your car and it decided to give away, it would knock you right the F over.
But what a place to go unconscious. Look at this cabin. This beautiful cabin.
Okay, let's start this up and see what's going on here.
So it does a little bit of, it tries to do a little bit of dramatic startup there, even though it's all mild hybrid stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Mercedes.
Sure is.
Listen, it's not for you.
What do you mean it's not for me?
You're the Mjolky minimalist guy, right? This has swords of piano black, which
Yes.
is already very annoying.
Yeah.
Carbon fiber, that looks pretty.
Yeah.
Ambient lighting, screens, drama, theatre.
But it's not.
It's chintzy.
It's so chintzy, James.
It's Mercedes, but that is what they do.
I know,
That's what they do.
That's what they do now.
Look at the pinnacle of Mercedes as Maybach. It gets even more like that.
Okay, so
So we're in comfort.
we're in comfort mode now. Start there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that pulls hard. That's quick.
Lots of power.
That's really quick.
Yeah, on the road, having lived with this around Toronto, this feels
Yeah.
as quick as the previous generation C63.
So, am I in manual mode?
You are
No, I'm not.
You
Why
can
did-
toggle that on the steering wheel.
Why didn't it downshift?
If you press one of the
well, no, I don't
things-
want to. I just want to. So like, that engine is so boosty.
It's quite boosty.
What's going on there?
And there's a few places where I think it leaves room for 63 / could never achieve 63.
Right.
And one is the boostiness of this 3-litre engine to push this mass.
Yeah.
It's quite a lurchy experience around town. And I actually haven't had a passenger in this yet. I've been driving everywhere on my own.
Right.
And I've made myself feel sick sometimes.
Right. So okay. So interestingly, the reason we liked this engine when we first tried it in the what?
CLS.
CLS.
Yes.
53 was because it felt naturally aspirated.
Yes, and
Right?
it was powerful and it
It's
had
powerful.
a perfect start-stop system.
Does this have the same thing?
Has exactly the
Okay,
same
I'm gonna
thing.
try that because
That
that's the
merit-
best part. That's the best part about this.
Yeah.
You come to a stop here, shuts off the engine before you come to a stop, and as you pull away, turns on the engine seamlessly, no lurch whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's good.
And there are cars like with the 48 volt mild hybrid, like an M440i, that have similar systems. This
Yeah.
is way smoother.
Yeah. Okay. So let's flip that right over into race mode.
You can go into master race on this one.
Oh,
which
good,
is,
good, good,
Which
good,
is the
good.
note of a true AMG. But remember that. So this is, as I said, like this is now that the C and the E have consummated. I
Right.
think that's what the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Prima nocta.
Yeah. And it's got the 53. It's sort of, this is a halfway car in terms of everything. It's luxury as much as it is comfort. It's length and size as much as it is compactness.
Okay. So if I
It's really an artistic, holistic.
what was that? What
That
was that?
that's the other blind spot on this car in not being a C60, in not being a 63. Sorry, this has a torque converter gearbox.
Yeah, but those are usually sometimes okay.
I know,
this-
but in a 63 you'd see it most of the time. Well, some of them are torque converters.
What?
but-
I have to shift. I have to click the paddle before 5,000 RPM.
Yes, it's not a very high red line, and it punishes you hardcore for trying to shift at red line.
That's weird. Okay, so also the in gear feel of this car is very non-linear. It's very boosty, and it feels like you only get this tiny fraction of time where you're actually in the full potential of the engine
Yes.
before you have to shift again.
Yeah,
Don't like that.
The threshold is small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even when you are flat out, which I just was, I'll take it out of the. So
It's like
even,
playing Angry Birds. You have to get it exactly.
even in drive mode. There's the ramp
Yeah.
of power. Yeah, you actually come out of the boost between the gears.
So
Don't
it
like that
works really well on the highway.
either. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just as like an everyday kind of.
Yeah,
commuter.
or once you're at speed,
Yeah.
that gearbox is nearly as punishing, and it has so much pull.
Right. But it's a 53 AMG, and they've given it all of the crap in here. Let me guess. There's some
Yeah, if you press the
telemetrics.
button on that one, yeah.
Okay.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
See. Wow.
That's theatre. Don't get me wrong, you have to get the fundamentals correct and then have this. This
Yes.
doesn't replace those.
No.
But I think this is fun.
No, it's not fun, but it's, oh my God.
Look at that.
It's just
It's filling
unnecessary.
with the blood of your enemies when you do
Yeah,
that.
it's just the engine isn't, this car is writing checks that it can't cash.
But it's writing checks for the C63 to come along, which I think it will. So this does get some stuff that is quite impressive for the price. Like, it has 4-wheel steer. I don't know how many cars in this price range get rear-wheel steer.
That's nice.
Right, so the turning circle is great. It
Yeah.
feels, the turn-in is sharp on this.
All right, well, I'll tell you in a second. I get a little curvy.
Despite its mass, I find the front, I mean, the steering ratio is very short.
This can go into full rear-wheel drive mode, can it?
Yeah, because this has the race mode, it can also has a drift mode.
It's heavy.
It's heavy.
It's really heavy.
It's heavy, yeah. When you really try and push this car, you feel where it's left room.
Well, that's a bit confusing then, because what is it? It's a coupe, so it's sporty, and it's a 53 AMG, so it's sporty, but it feels like an E-Class to me right now.
Yeah, how I've learned to like this is by looking at it as a more affordable, zippy E53.
Okay.
Because even though it's no smaller than an E53 Coupe, I think it's actually half an inch bigger or longer.
But then why do all the stuff? Why do all the crap and the badging and the colors and the red and the carbon fiber? And it just feels like they're trying to distract you from the fact that they didn't really spend the time to make the doors not weigh as much as the moon.
The doors do weigh an inexplicable amount. However, you can actually make this sportier. So that's the AMG wheel, which is an extra.
Yeah.
These seats are the normal seats, I think, and then you can actually get crazed, like much more aggressive AMG sport seats. Because you know what, for under 100 Canadian and under 100 US as well, you feel like you've driven. If you drove away from the dealership in this, you'd feel like you've got a lot of car. The ride is well damped.
No, the ride is good.
Yeah,
I agree.
Even though it does feel like, especially when you start to drive aggressively, it does still feel like it's trying everything it can to manage its weight.
Well, the problem is that in order to make this handle that well, you'd have to make the suspension extremely stiff because it weighs so much.
Yes.
Right? So they haven't done that. So as a result, yes, it turns in very sharp. The steering ratio feels very fast, but it's not like athletic. It doesn't feel like
it's athletic as it can be. It's like one of those 60-year-old guys who's still in really good shape. Like he's still like maybe he's run the Amazing Race.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find whatever this is, this halfway between CE, halfway between 43 and 63. I think it's done all of that correctly. It's just whether you want that recipe.
It does feel doesn't feel as big and as cumbersome as an E. But
a lot of that's the 4-wheel steer.
Yes, and it feels, I guess, a little bit more substantial of a vehicle than a C.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like substantiality is being done a little bit by just having it feel heavy, right? Actually, that ride's not very good there. I'm in sport mode, I guess.
Once you're in sport mode and once you crash over stuff, then it's trying to stiffen things up.
Yeah.
But it's not nearly as, like we get the C63 through 1,000 miles in it through Europe. This isn't nearly as punishing as that.
Oh, that was brutal. Absolutely, that car's horrible, piece of crap.
If you look at this as like a boostier, less displacement, slightly bigger, more comfortable, good looking C63, like maybe you've got a bit older. As you've got older, your tastes have changed, right? You prefer the more comfortable cars.
Yeah, I do. Here's what I think. Here's my ideal version of this car.
Okay.
1 degree less stuff going on in here, right? Bring it down just a bit. Lose the carbon fiber. Lose the fancy steering wheel.
Give us some wood.
Give us some wood trim. Make it a little classier.
You might be able to do wood trim, actually. I haven't looked.
Right, but make the engine. So maybe do 10 or 15 less horsepower. Dial the boost back a little bit. So
but the boost is important. Okay, here, do me a favor. Take us to race mode.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Give us a little launch in this. Because I've launched the S63 recently. I've launched the AMG GT recently.
Yeah.
This has its own flavor of sound and profile.
Here we go. You ready? Oh my God, the seatbelts. What is that? Oh, it actually squeezes so hard it hurts.
Come on. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I like that too much.
Yeah. Everything's gone everywhere.
Everything's just gone everywhere. No, it's very, very dramatic, and that was the most unique sound of the AMG whoop, 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 that I've heard. Yeah, interesting.
But synthetic. The sounds in here are very synthetic.
But again, that's what I mean. Like, it's very dramatic. They do that to impress you at the dealership and the whole thing, and you impress your friends as you go 0 to 60 kilometers an hour, even, not even miles an hour.
I think it's 4 seconds to 60 this.
That's pretty quick. Yeah. But then it still has a lot of mass to deal with in the top end, in the corners. Like, it's still not as athletic as it appears to be. It
but
doesn't feel honest about itself.
But then you can drive it like an E when you realize that.
Yes. No, and
it becomes a very good looking, mean looking, comfortable, fast Mercedes.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think my ideal version of this is just all of this stuff and the badging and everything dialed back 20%, right? Because it's a good E-coupe. That's what it feels like.
Does that mean that, well, yeah, I guess you'd still have fancy stuff, but then that means that the CLE 450 is for you? Slightly more honest,
maybe.
Lose the supercharger.
Maybe, but then isn't that a 4-cylinder?
No. Same engine, exact same turbocharged 6 as this.
That makes more sense to me. So
but then you lose the wider haunches, you lose all the AMG stuff.
Of course, right.
And then it's not as desirable of a package.
Oh, well, I don't know, maybe it is, depending on who you ask.
It looks more E when you go down from here.
Yeah, okay.
It looks a slightly, less, it's more reserved.
I think a 63 of this would be interesting to drive. I just think that when you add the extra weight of potentially a V8 and maybe some more batteries, right, you're going to end up with...
You're going to ruin it.
An extraordinarily heavy vehicle again, right? Like if they just lose the weight from the doors and probably other places that we can't feel because we can't move them ourselves, maybe it would make up the difference, right?
It comes with like a pivot stick.
Yeah. Comes like a pry bar to open the door.
I will say, living with this in Toronto, I think this is very much a car that will see cities.
Yeah.
I've got on with it really well.
Yeah, because what I'm doing right now feels really good.
Yeah. On paper and mostly achieved, for 80,000 Canadian is a very fancy. This interior is plush as hell.
Yeah, no, it looks freaking cool. I get it. I totally get it.
I think it's priced fairly. If we were sitting here and it was 140 grand, I'd be like, yeah, Mercedes just doing Mercedes things. Like that S63 we were in was $275,000. Like,
you know what's funny is that the S63 we were in, from the perspective of where I'm sitting, doesn't feel that different when you're just kind of cruising around.
No.
But that's what I mean by this. Like,
this wins because it's got all the trickle down.
I guess so. Yeah, sure. All right, maybe this is the one to get. The S63 is
trickle down, consummate.
Yeah, why would you get the S63 if you can have largely the same experience with your eyes in this thing?
Well, because you'd cut off your friend's legs. If
you can't bring humans.
There's actually not a bad amount of room.
Actually, there's a decent amount.
Pretty decent amount.
I don't know about the headroom, but
pretty good.
But so again, why not make it a sedan? Why not make it a sedan?
Because this looks cool.
Because it looks cool. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I agree. It looks cool. Looks important.
So there you go. The CLE.
The what?
This is CLE.
Oh.
CLE.